these people are being used to summon an antichrist, a beast. It's here. It's in our AI. It's in our movies. It's in our fucking music. It's in every freaking like and accept that we click. It's in our legislation. We haven't just become a satanic nation. We've become a satanic world. And these globalists are the ones who use these children, who get in bed with the Freemasons. These are sick fucking bastards. So I mentioned earlier, splitting personalities. I think I had at least 3. And it was all part of my process. Okay. If you knew me, then you essentially got the real me. Unless I couldn't turn the altars off and something slipped. But the more I did LSD and the more I did these drugs, the more I was getting these messages in my head. You create your reality. Thought is perception. Schrodinger's cat. If you don't see it, it's not there. It's your reality to do what you will. Do as thou wilt. Test the waters. So I would always go around town. I was always on the streets. I was always meeting with people, smoking with someone under a fucking bridge, getting drunk with someone, getting fucked up, doing acid with a stranger, which I did way too many times for my own personal safety. The lack of personal safety. Dude, I met eco-terrorists. I met killers. I met people who had just gotten out of prison after like 30 plus years. I met people who said that they were going to go on and fucking do horrible things. People who I just met who just told me about a horrible thing that they did. I have had to talk strangers out of suicide. I've had to watch strangers walk away and think to myself, wow, this stranger just handed me his ID saying that he's going to go join his daughter now and walked away from me intoxicated. Weird stories. So as I was doing these drugs and as I was engaging more in these rituals, my reality was getting rewritten. My brain was snapping. One altar had cancer. So I would tell people that I had cancer. And this person had a whole backstory. Can't even remember it. It was always so impromptu, but I kept it pretty damn consistent. If I were with more intimidating individuals, I was somebody who was put into essentially fight clubs, and I would make up stories about all the violence and just like intense shit. I could sit here and say like, as violent as I was in Antifa, I was a pussy. And that's the reality of it. But when I was telling these stories, it was like, no, I was fucking big shot. And we got in these fucking fights and I never got fucked up and and I can't even remember. Oh, the third was that I was somebody whose ex had just committed suicide. That's the one. That was a hard one to maintain. And I didn't even know why the fuck I was doing it. Once I got away from all this shit and stopped doing the drugs like that, I was like, do I have a fucking personality disorder? Because if you look at all that, I'm very ashamed of that. But why did I do it? Certain altars would meet certain people. Certain altars would change the synchronicities, so to speak. It's very, very hard to explain. But I was essentially becoming reptilian, which is why I believe that whenever I was getting out of Antifa, that's why I was able to go to the other sides and talk to all these individual people like it was nothing, because I just go into an environment and blend, especially in an area where everybody's fucking psychotic. And then different things would get different results. Some altars offered a layer of protection against certain entities because in my head, I guess I justified it with, well, if this is a different energy frequency that I'm putting out, then these things can't attach to that. When really, in reality, what you're doing is you're multiplying the problem. The first time I did DMT, actually the only time I did DMT, and it was kind of half-assed at best, and I'm kind of glad for that because what I got was very light. But I was listening to the song Acid Rain by Lorn in my headphones. When you do DMT, it's really weird. It's like sound becomes tappy. Sound starts to stretch and move, and you get all tingly, and it sounds like someone's crinkling foil in your ear, like really close, like ASMR in your. It's so weird. But this is when I was living next to Larry, and we faced a field with a little pond, and then there's some apartments on the other side. Well, I'm looking out in the field, and then all of a sudden a white mist starts to open up, and the fence line and the grass and the trees, they all just kind of become one, and then a giant white light starts to open up. And the apartments behind it fade, and everything becomes one, and then just reality kind of splits down the middle. And I saw a tall, hazy entity standing in the background, and I believed it to be Thoth. But I also had this feeling at the same time that I couldn't explain. So when I came out of it, when I described it, it almost felt like I was lying about it, but I wasn't. It's what I saw. But something about the hijack was telling me that this hallucination was built on lies. That this visual presentation itself was a manifestation of a lying nature. And I spent a lot of years struggling with that up until very recently, actually. What many people experience in these psychedelic states, it is interdimensional contact. You are reaching other entities. But the Bible tells us that we're in a battle between two kingdoms, different principalities. There's two kingdoms. The reality is this is God's world, but earth is the devil's kingdom. This is where he plays when he's not in hell. I believe firmly that the New Age, that paganism, that astral projection, all of these psychedelic hippy-dippy encounters that we're having, they are the great lie. They're the great lie. We're creating these entities out of our own self-deception. I've never met those. I thought I did. What happens when you play with these entities and with these shadows, these lesser beings? Now, I told you that a lot of people would pray to Odin or this god or this god. When they start tinkering with this magic and things start to happen, something moved by itself, something slammed, something threw itself, I heard a voice, I saw a shadow, all that. Most people seem to be getting deeper into these practices because they believe that these shadow people, these Djinn, these Mimi, these skinwalkers, whatever you want to call them from whatever fucking culture, they think that these are their gods. Let that sink in for a moment. This thing is my God. This thing that is throwing me down the stairs, threatening me, sending me voices in my head, encouraging me to do all this shit that just strips me further and further away from my soul. That's the God that I worship. These demons come and they manifest as these gods. They pretend to be these gods. You know, they're able to wear a mask. You know, over time, I realized this was not Thoth. This was Shamarash.